ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨਾ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਾ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਡੰਡੋਤ ਬੰਦਨ ਅਨਕ ਬਾਰ ਸਰਬ ਕਲਾ ਸਮਰੱਥ ਡੋਲਨ ਤੇ ਰਾਖੋ ਪ੍ਰਭੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇ ਕਰ ਹੱਥ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਰਾਜਾ ਨਰਾਜ ਭਾਨ ਭਾਨ ਦੇਵਾਨ ਦੇਵ ਉਪਮਾ ਮਹਾਨ ਪਤਿਤ ਪਾਵਨ ਭਗਤ ਵਚਲ ਜੋਤ ਸਰੂਪ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਖਜ਼ਾਨੇ ਚੌਰ ਛਤਰ ਤੱਕ ਦੇ ਮਾਲਿਕ ਧੰਨ 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 ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ we are very blessed to be able to come and join together on the social media platforms on this day where we are celebrating the Gurpurb, the coming of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, who is the embodiment of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji, of God themselves, of that giver, organizer and deliverer of our lives. Just like how Gurbani tells us, Jot Roop Har Aap Guru Nanak Kahayo. That on this day, the Guru Khalsa Panth is celebrating the coming of God themselves. That we might think that what is the benefit of listening to Katha, of learning about the Guru Sahib, learning about our Avtars, our history, learning about Gurbani. Guru Sahib tells us within their Bani, Sun Har Katha Utari Mel, that simply by listening to Katha, we are able to wash away all of that paap, all of those sins that we have committed. Just by listening to this Katha, to this discourse, where we will be learning about how Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is the greatest of all the Devi Devte, all of the demigods, all of the different types of Avtars that have come. Just how Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is the greatest. That why they had to step into this world. That what was the reason as to of their coming. That we'll be learning about the different types of avatars. So an avatar is a manifestation or a form that Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji takes within this world. And we'll be seeing that how Guru Sahib, how Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is greater than all of those avatars. That the world was crying out for Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. They were doing an ardas to Vaheguru Ji to come and save them. That there's so much sin happening within the world that somebody must be sent to come and save us. Because Satsang Ji, the Siddhs, those of the followers of the Sanatic faith, who would have many different yoga techniques in order to obtain different Vidya Siddhya, different occult powers. They had accumulated these different powers and they had started showing their powers to the world because they were trying to get the world to do their puja, to worship them. They were taking people away from the true path. That all the other avatars, the messengers of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji, had come into this world, but they had started to follow the path of egotism. Instead of spreading the name of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji, they started spreading their own name. And the world was crying out, and they did this ardas to Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji to come and save them themselves, because they had no powers at all themselves. That only Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves could save the world. And Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji, that giver, organizer and deliverer of our lives, said that I had sent many people before, but yet they have been caught up in this path of egotism, that I must now come myself within this world, that I will take 10 forms within this world. And we know this to be the 10 Guru Sahib, from Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj. And now we have the Sampooran di Jagdi Jot, Dhan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, and the Guru Khalsa Sad Sangat. That Brahma, that Devi Devta asked Vaheguru Ji, that whose household will you take birth in? And Vaheguru Ji responded by saying that they will take birth in the household of 2 of their devotees, 2 of their bhagats, that have done that jap tap, who have meditated on God's name, and that they had promised them their one wish, and their one wish was for Vaheguru Ji to have a son like Vaheguru Ji. And Vaheguru said that in order to fulfill that wish, I must take birth myself in that world. I must step into that world myself. And they would be born into the house of Pita Kalyan Das Ji and Mata Tripta Ji, the parents of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. Sad Sangat Ji, we can see this to be just like how in a battle, a general would send out his soldiers to fight that battle. But within that battle, when the soldiers die, when they fail, the general then themselves have to step into that battle. And this is what we can see to be what Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves had to do. They had to step into this age of Kali Yuga, this age of darkness, in the form of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, in order to fight, in order to teach us, in order to save us from this darkness. Before we are able to understand or gain that knowledge of how Guru Sahib is greater than all of those that have come before them, we must look to the different types of avatars. There's known to be 6 different types of avatars that have come into this world. And they are known to be the Ansa avatar, Avesha avatar, Kala avatar, Nit avatar, Nimit avatar, and Puran avatar. The Ansa avatar is where, so we've said that an avatar is when Vaheguru Ji takes a manifestation, they take a form within this world in order to help the world, to save somebody, for somebody's benefit. And that Ansa avatar is what we can see to be a king. When Vaheguru Ji takes the form of a king, and they rule over the kingdom, and they look after the people within that kingdom, and they live within the hukam, the command of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. That they would treat the people of their kingdom as their own children. And an example of this is King Manu. And King Manu is known to be the first king that ruled over this earth. The second type of avatar is the Avesha avatar. The Avesha avatar comes into this world without any powers, without any Riddhya Siddhiya, but through their jap tap, through repeating the name of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji, they are blessed to have those powers. And that is an example of Parasuram, who had no powers, but through that jap tap, they've obtained the Riddhya Siddhiya. Then we have the Kala avatar. So the Kala avatar is where Vaheguru Ji takes a form for a specific purpose, for a specific task. And in order to complete that task, they need specific powers. And an example of this is the Mach avatar. There once came a time when what is known to be the 4 Veds now, they were actually taken by a demon into the deep sea, and he would hide within a seashell. And this was preventing the world to do their puja by reading the Veds. learning about the Veds. And they weren't able to worship Akala Purakh Vaheguru Ji through those means. So Vishnu took a form, in the form of Mach, who was from the upper body. His upper body was of a man, and his lower body was of a fish. And he came, the Mach avatar came, and it went into that deep sea, and it killed that demon, freeing the Veds, so that the Veds could be read, they could be learnt as well. So the Mach avatar come for a specific reason, with specific powers as well. Then we have the Nit avatar. The Nit avatar is when Vaheguru Ji takes the form of a saint, of a sant, of a Mahapurakh, a Brahmagyani, in order to spread their maryada, their discipline, their ret. And we can look at to see Sant Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji Khalsa Pindrawale as an example of this, because they were the 12th Mukhi of Dandimi Taksal. They spread the maryada of Tan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj. They spread the teachings of Gurbani, the Santya, the Arth, and they've taught countless amount of Singhs Vidya. And then we have the Nimitta avatar. The Nimitta avatar is an avatar, a form of Vaheguru Ji that comes in order to protect somebody, to save somebody. And they'll come for a specific task. And for that task, they'll need different powers, certain powers. And once that task has been completed, they'll become alop again. They'll disappear. An example of this is when Bhagat Prahlad Ji was being hunted, when Harnakas, their father, wanted to kill Bhagat Prahlad Ji. And Harnakas had many different boons, many different gifts that he had accumulated, such as not being able to be killed by a man or an animal, not being able to be killed during the day or during the night, and not being able to be killed during outside or inside. And because of all these boons, all of these gifts that he had obtained, he thought he was invincible. He thought he was Vaheguru Ji themselves. But Vaheguru Ji took a form, in the form of Narsingh, with those for a specific task to simply kill Harnakas in order to protect Bhagat Prahlad Ji. And they come with certain powers. That Narsingh was neither a man or an animal. He was half and half man, half lion. And when they killed Harnakas, it was during the in-between. It was neither day and neither was it night. It was in that short period of time in between. And they killed him in a veranda that is seen to be like a porch. There is neither inside nor is it outside. And once Narsingh had killed Harnakas, he then became alop, he then disappeared. So that is the Nimitta avatar. And then we have the Puran avatar. So the Puran avatar is the avatar, that form of Vaheguru Ji that has all of the powers available at that moment in time, in that jug. And there's known to be 24 different forms of Vishnu. And 2 are seen to be what we call a Puran avatar. And they are Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji. Because Sri Ramchandra had 14 powers. And that was all that was available in that jug, in that time of Treta. And in Dwapara, Sri Krishna Ji had 16 divine powers. And that's all that was available at that time. Now, when we hear this word Puran, we think that, okay, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj must be under that category of Puran avatars. Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji at one point was describing these different types of avatars to the Sangata. And they asked a very logical question that some of us may even be asking as well. And they asked that, does Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, are they equal to the Puran avatar, or do they lack certain qualities? And Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj gave their response. They said that Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj has all of those powers. They don't lack any of those powers of the Puran avatar. However, they are actually greater for 5 different reasons. There's 5 reasons why we say Sabate Vadda Satguru Nanak. Why we say that Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is the greatest of them all. And they are Shakti, Vyakti, Pragya, Kartab and Ayu. That these are the 5 qualities, the 5 reasons as to why Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is known to be the greatest of all of the Devi Devta, all of the demigods that had come before them. That they do not even come close to Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. That Shakti we know to be power. Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji, those that are considered to be that Puran Avtar, they would show their powers in order to increase their own popularity. That Sri Ramchandra, when they were of a young age and their mother was going to the mandir to worship the different goddesses, what did Sri Ramchandra do? They actually changed the faces of those goddesses to their own face, so that when their mother went to that mandir, they will see his face, to show his mother all of these powers that he possessed. And Sri Krishna Ji, as a child, just like how a child, if they put something in front of their mouth, in front of their mother will always check what is put into their mouth. And Sri Krishna Ji pretended to put dirt into their mouth so that the mother would open up their mouth to see what is inside. And when she opened Sri Krishna Ji's mouth, she was shown the whole entire Shakti, the whole entire creation. They saw all of that power that Sri Krishna Ji possessed. Because Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji wanted to show their powers. They wanted people to know about their powers. However, if we look into the life of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, this isn't the case. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj came into this world in that village of Talwandi. And during the Amritvala hours, the early hours of the morning, their mother Mata Tripta Ji was asleep. And all of these different Devi Devta, all these different demigods came to worship Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj as a child, because they recognized that this is the form of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. Jot Roop Har Aap Guru Nanak Kahayo. That Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is the embodiment of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. And they would put a garland around their neck. They will place Guru Sahib upon a throne. They will put saffron on them, spray sandalwood. And they will say that you are the true king. You have come here to save us all. And when Mata Tripta Ji heard this, they could hear something was going on. And as any mother would do, that she got up to check on her child. And when she walked in, the Devi Devta had gone. The demigods had gone. But the smell of sandalwood and saffron remained. And in that instant, in that moment of time, Mata Tripta Ji had no doubts that Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, her child, was the embodiment of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. Now Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, they could have allowed this to remain a thought within their mother's mind. But they concealed their own powers. They concealed who they were, because they didn't want to do it for popularity. They're just like how a child cries, a mother will attend to their needs. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj placed a veil of illusion of Maya over their mother's eyes, over their mind, by crying. And Mata Tripta Ji then attended to their needs of her child. That Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj didn't use their powers in order to increase their own popularity. That they were always here to show us the true path of becoming one with Akal Purkh Vaheguru. And that this is the first reason why they are known to be the greatest. That they are greater than the Puran Avtars. That Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is in fact Sampooran, truly complete. Then we have Vyakti. Now Vyakti is the form of the name of God itself. Over their lifespan, Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji never grew any facial hair. That they would actually stop their facial hair from growing. And because of this, their shakal, their appearance, would entice those of their opposite gender. It would actually increase the lust that people would feel towards them because of their shakal, because of their appearance. But as we know, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj would keep their case. They would have that dari, they'll have that beard. And when people would see them with this flowing beard, they would recognize them to be the form of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. They will be a respected saint in even those that didn't know them. Just like how Gurbani tells us that the form of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji is with a beard, is with our case, that we have to remain Savad Surat, that we are not to do any biyadbi of our case in any shape or form. Because of the appearance that Siddhi Ramchandra had, when they went to marry Sita, the royal maids started to have lustful intentions towards Siddhi Ramchandra. They had lustful thoughts. And Siddhi Ramchandra said that I cannot fulfill these thoughts, these desires of yours. But in the next Yug, in Dwapar, I will fulfill these needs. And Sri Krishna Ji would take avatar in that Yug, and the maids would be reborn as gopis, and Sri Krishna Ji would attend to their lustful desires. Both Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji weren't able to eradicate this cardinal sin of lust, of those lustful actions. They would in fact increase lust within others. They would not be able to eradicate it. But Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, when they were in what we now know to be Sri Lanka, that all of those beautiful women tried to entice Guru Sahib. They tried to stray Guru Sahib from this path. But Guru Sahib eradicated the lust within inside others, that they had none themselves, and they were even able to eradicate it in others. That Guru Sahib repeated Gurbani and was able to transform those women, that those women were able to feel that anand, that bliss, that peacefulness, and they too would then start to repeat the name of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji and receive that anand. Siddhi Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj isn't greater than the Puran Avtars because of Vyakti, because they were able to actually eradicate lust from within others, whereas Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji, they would actually increase it in others. They weren't able to eradicate that cardinal sin themselves. So we have Shakti, Vyakti, and then we have Pragya. Now Pragya is the understanding or the knowledge of God. Both Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji had to adopt Avtars. They had to adopt spiritual masters in order to gain the knowledge of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. However, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is the spiritual master. They are the one that give that knowledge. And this can be seen in their childhood. When Pita Kalyan Das Ji, their father, wanted Guru Sahib to become educated, and they would take them to Gopal Pandey, who is a teacher who would teach basic maths, languages. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, on that first day in that class, they played it out. They went along with what they were being taught. But on the second day, they remained silent. And they said, and when they were asked, why are they remaining silent? Guru Sahib responded saying that what you are teaching, it can be erased. That one should learn those things that cannot be erased. And Guru Sahib repeated Gurbani to Gopal Padde. And they too saw that this is no ordinary child. That this is the form of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. That the person that was meant to teach Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj actually become their disciple. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj never had to adopt any spiritual master, because all of this knowledge, it is theirs. Unlike Sri Ramchandra and Sri Krishna Ji, who for a certain amount of time had to adopt a spiritual master at some point in their life. So we have Shakti, Vyakti, Pragya, and then we have Kartab. So Kartab is the show of skill. Sri Ramchandra, once they had returned from exile, they made a promise to the people of their kingdom. And they said that no child would die in front of their parents. But this wouldn't remain true for very long. That a Brahman's son had actually passed away before his parents. And as you can imagine, Satsangaji, the Brahman came to Sri Ramchandra and they said that you have lied to us, that our son has in fact passed away, that you are nothing but a liar. And when Sri Ramchandra tried to come up with an explanation, an excuse as to why this had happened, they said that it is because there is a person of a low caste that is meditating on the name of God in the jungles, that is the reason as to why your son has passed away. And Sri Ramchandra actually went and killed that person of a low caste and then brought a son back of that Brahman. Sri Ramchandra had battles with his own sons. His sons actually killed him, and it's only because of Sita that he was able to be brought back. But yet, he still passed on his throne to his own sons. He had that attachment with his family. Sri Krishna ji also passed on their throne to their own family members because they had that attachment. The Satsanga ji, if we look into the house of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, that is not the case. Because if we look into the times of Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji, when they were staying within Goindwal Sahib, they said that no one will die, that for 22 years, no one passed away in Goindwal Sahib. And of course, from Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji Maharaj, there's no difference. It's the same Jyot that is now that we have in the form of Dhan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj today. The Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj had no attachment to their family because they did not pass on the Gurta Gaddi, the throne, to any of their sons. The Gurta Gaddi always goes to the true Sevak of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. That in that time it was Bhai Lehna Ji who would become Sri Guru Angad Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, who would receive the Gurta Gaddi, who would become the second Guru of the Sikhs. The Guru Sahib showed no attachment to their family. And then we have Ayu. And Ayu is the good acts for the benefits of others. Like we have heard, Sri Ramchandra killed that person of a low caste in order to bring back the son of that Brahman. But Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj never took a life in order to give life. That whenever they would meet somebody that was following the wrongful path, a sinful path, such kings such as Babur and people like Goda Rakesh, Guru Sahib would always educate them to follow the true path. They were given the true teachings of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji through Turki Bani, that this Gurbani that has come directly from Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves. And if we look at the lifespans of the Puran Avtars of Sri Krishna Ji and Sri Ramchandra, Sri Ramchandra lived for 10,000 years and Sri Krishna Ji lived for 1,000 years. But in their lifespans, neither one of them travelled outside of India and Sri Lanka. That's all that they would travel. But if we look at the lifespan of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, they were on this earth in the physical form for around about 70 years. And within that time, they had travelled all of this world. Just like how Bhai Gurdas Ji writes within their Vada, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj in fact travelled this whole world, blessing everybody they met with the teachings of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. But within such a short period of time, in comparison, they were able to travel a lot more, they were able to do a lot more prachar, and they were able to share the teachings of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. They saved countless amount of people from that sinful path and put them on the path of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. That is the path of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves. That is for these reasons of Shakti, Vyakti, Pragya, Kartab and Ayu that Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is known to be Sampooran. They are known to be complete, truly complete. That they are greater than the Puran Avtars. They possess all of the powers that the Puran Avtars have and much more, because within this age of Kalajug, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj came into this world with an infinite amount of powers, unlimited amount of powers, because they are a form of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves. Just like we have heard, Jot Roop Har Aap Guru Nanak Kahayo. They are the embodiment of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji. And this is why Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj is greater than all of the Devi Devte, all of the demigods that have come before them. And on this day, where we are celebrating the Gurupurab, may we realize just how blessed we truly are to be born into the house of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj, to be born into the house of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves. That we have learnt why Guru Sahib came into this world, that there had been others before them, but they had started to follow the path of egotism, that the true message had not been delivered. And just like how a general has to step into the battlefield once all of their soldiers have failed, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj took form within this age of Kalajug. That we have learnt about the 6 different types of avatars: the Ansa avatar, Avesha avatar, Kala avatar, Nit avatar, Namit avatar, and the Puran avatar. And how there's often a confusion that we think that Guru Sahib must be one of the Puran avatars, but really they are Sampooran. They are truly complete. They are greater for 5 different reasons: of Shakti, Vyakti, Pragya, Kartab, and Ayu, as we have learnt. That may we all realize just how lucky we are, how fortunate we are to be celebrating their Gurupurab, be born into the house of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. That I cannot even come close to describing the greatness of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. Whilst doing this Katha, I have made not just one but many mistakes. That I beg for forgiveness from Dhan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj and you, the Guru Khalsa Sat Sangat. May we all be blessed to listen, believe, and implement the teachings that Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj has blessed us with. May we all be able to break free of the 84 lakh June and merge back within Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji themselves. That you, the Guru Khalsa Sat Sangat Ji, you have the power to bless me with that Brahm Gyan, that divine knowledge, so that we can continue to share the teachings of Akal Purkh Vaheguru Ji in the form of Dhan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji Maharaj. So please forgive me for all of my mistakes. Lekhe kitne shutiye, kin poolanhar, baksanhar baksale, Nanak par utar. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Please like, comment, subscribe and share the video to spread the message of Sikhi. You can make a difference by donating so we can create more content like this. The link is in the description below.